Okay, I'm on my phone too, so I'm gonna have to kind of scroll back and forth between my camera and the documents.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, let me know when we're ready.
We're ready.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll do the roll call.
Okay. Chair Stephen Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Giselle Johnson Banks,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer G. Wade Wooten,
Present.
Board Member Charles Brown, Board Member Edgar Chase IV, Board Member Andronika Morris,
Present.
Board Member Hunter Thomas.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you all for attending. We'll move forward with old business, if there's any.
No old business to discuss this month.
Okay. And we'll move to public comments. Do we have any comments?
No public comments at this time.
Thank you. All right, moving right along to new business. We have the approval of the May 19, 2020 board meeting minutes. They are in your packet. So once you've had a chance to review them, I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. I don't see any action items in the minutes either.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's straightforward.
Okay. Thank you, Wade. Is there a second? Anjanika?
I second that motion.
Oh, thank you, Hunter. I forgot you were on here. Thank you. Minutes are approved. So we have next on the agenda fiscal year 2019 audit status update.
All right, so I'll provide an update. Good afternoon, board members. I'll provide that update on the 2019 audit.
Byron, you're breaking up.
Our auditors are
You're breaking up.
breaking up.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, while Byron's getting back in order, I'll just say that introduce it that, as you know, we have our fiscal audit due annually in June, on June 30th of each year. And we start our work in February and March from the accounting team's perspective and getting prepared for that audit. So of course we had COVID and that has definitely slowed the situation down, but Byron has been working directly with the auditors, and he can give you more details on precisely what we've done. Are you good to go, Byron? Okay,
Damon, this is Jade. I also think Steve has to mute his line. I think we're getting some feedback from him moving.
Okay.
That might be interfering with Byron.
Chair Smith, can you mute your phone, please?
I can try. I'm gonna try to call in on my phone, so I'm still working on it.
Okay, thank you. So Byron's gonna
Thank you,
call
Jay.
back
Yeah,
in.
that is better. Okay. Okay. I know you said this already, but when is the audit due?
June 30th. It's due June 30th, but the state legislative auditor did provide an extension to state and city agencies because of COVID-19.
Okay.
So all of the auditors are behind schedule at this point.
Sure.
And,
I bet
yeah.
they are. What, was it an automatic like 3-month extension?
Yeah, it's a 90-day extension. But our auditors, Byron's gonna be talking to the auditors tomorrow to get a better timeline from them on when they can be done. But more than likely, they're gonna ask us to extend for at least 30 days.
Okay.
But they feel that they can be done by July 31st. So Byron and his team has provided all the information the auditors need. So it's up to them to do their process at this point. But they're simply just backlog.
All that's going on.
Yeah. Is that happening in your organizations as well?
So not really, because the fiscal year ends usually June 30th. So the audit report is not due until December.
Understood.
So yeah. So not yet, but for those organizations that ended, December 31st, I imagine that fell right in the timeline.
Yeah. So that's mainly what Byron was going to report back, is that we have a call with the auditors tomorrow to discuss a more precise timeline, but it is expected that they will ask us to extend to July 31st.
Okay.
Or at least accept the ability to extend for those 90 days, but they're targeting no longer than a 30-day delay.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's a good plan. Yeah. Since you have the 90 days, just go ahead and accept the extension, but always shoot to get it done as fast as you can.
Sure. And we discussed it during the finance committee. So Wade, do you have anything to add to what I just stated?
No, I mean, Giselle, the thought is I don't think we need formal authorization, because it's really they're complying with obviously, as long as we get it in by the extended deadline, we're fine. So I think it's really within Damon's scope of authority. He's just providing an update, would be my guess.
Sure. Thank you. Wayne, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. It's great seeing you too. I'm finally I'm crawling out from under a rock.
I understand. I understand. But no, that's good to say that it's only been you only need 30 extra days with all that's been going on and all of the, shifts and, how staff has been able to work and access documents and stuff like that. So good job, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Byron's not on, but they're toward the finish line, but the finance team has definitely been coming in and out of their office individually just to do their different parts. The auditor has asked us to scan documents and, send in information via email instead of them being here on site. So, through all of that, the team has been able to get everything that they need. So the ball's in their court, but we're gonna keep pushing them to get as close to that June 30th date as possible.
Okay. Great. I guess we'll just wait.
Hello, I'm back.
Oh, perfect timing. Look at you. All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Byron, I was able to explain the situation with the auditor, but if you have anything to add for the board's sake, just let them know right now. But Wade had a chance to comment as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think ideally, and you may have covered this. Ideally, we started the engagement about a month ago, which was a few weeks past the initial engagement. We pushed it back just because of just the situation from teleworking, and I think the auditors were trying to get their bearings together in terms of how they were going to do their processes, given it was a new, they're used to working on site and in the field. So the engagement was pushed back, but we've provided all the requested documents and information that they had needed, and they've been reviewing it and working with Bruno and Turbalon and reviewing and collecting those items. But they want to provide me with an update with tomorrow and just kind of an update on the timeline. And yes, as mentioned, there's a possible recommendation of utilizing the the state legislative auditors extension, emergency extension, that they say a lot of their clients are actually they're recommended to a lot of their clients just to give them some room. The extension is generally 90 days. They're just asking or recommending a 30-day to July 31st. But I'll have more insight after I meet with them, and I can provide the board with an update thereafter.
Sounds good. Thank you, Byron. Thank
You're
you for the work that you and your team have been doing. And I'm sure we'll have a good audit. Do y'all foresee any findings, anything that we need to discuss?
Yeah, at the moment, I don't foresee anything. And once again, I'll talk with them just in terms of what they've seen so far in their review. And if there's anything of material that I need to communicate, I'll definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we ready to move on to item C?
Yes, so board members, item C is the Lake Forest Manor Project status update. We had a chance to talk about this in programs committee, but this project is one of the first projects that we've received an application for under our new authority to issue pilots and tactics and bonds. So this first project they are seeking a fast track approval process from Finance New Orleans. And we intentionally put it on the agenda today just to introduce it to the board, to let you know that we do have some projects in the pipeline, and they're seeking approvals and closing or seeking to close with us in the second half of the year. So, ordinarily these approvals are going to take, from a board's perspective, 60 days, but the pre-work to even get to that 60-day approval process, that all depends on the project itself, how organized or how far along the developer is in the process. So that could be, anywhere from a month to a year. It just depends on the type of project and scope of project, and also the timing at which we receive it. So a lot of the projects that we're seeing now, timing wise, it just so happens that they're trying to close in this time frame, and we're setting our project up. So this very first project, Lake Forest Manor, is a senior living project in New Orleans East on Lake Forest Boulevard, right off of Reed Boulevard. And I'm sorry, did I pronounce it right? Reed Boulevard and Lake Forest. That's right. So it's on Reed Boulevard and Lake Forest across from Joe Brown Park. And it's currently blighted. The building is currently blighted. It's going to be turned into a senior living facility. And the developer is Michael Toubre. His company has done a number of projects in the area. So we still have to fully underwrite this project, but we wanted to introduce it to the board so that you can start to hear about some of the types of deals that we're seeing. And so you can just be alert for the fact that we do have some projects coming down the pipeline, and we're trying to work with the developers to provide the incentive in a timely fashion, while also making sure that we go through the process we need to go through to protect ourselves. So we're not asking for any approvals today. We just wanted to introduce this project and let you know that we're going to begin underwriting it. We've already started receiving information from the developer. And this project is seeking a pilot only. So we're not doing any bonds on this project. And the next few projects that we see will probably be pilot only requests as well. But that'll give us an opportunity to get our process established. And the pilot approval process is a shorter one than the approval process for bonds. And it requires less parties to evaluate the project. So for pilots, Finance New Orleans is the only authority outside of the city that has to review these applications. So in the meantime, we're going to focus on getting our pilot process in order. We hope to provide an update on this particular project, the Lake Forest Manor project, as well as maybe some others by the July meeting. And then that way you'll be able to start providing your preliminary approval and then ultimately your final approval. And then that will officially kick off Finance Authority's new revenue stream. which is a free cash flow revenue stream, just so the board understands how we generate the pilot. The pilot is partly, part of the fee that's charged is sent back to the city, and that represents the existing taxes. And then we're able to charge a fee. Finance New Orleans is able to charge a fee that comes directly to us, which we can use for operations, we can put it into our reserves, or we can reinvest it into programs. So unlike when we issue bonds, we have a debt that has to be repaid before we can reap the benefits of our cash flow of the assets that we're producing. On the pilot side, we don't have to issue debt in order to generate that revenue. So that's a really good advantage for Finance New Orleans. It provides us with some financial flexibility, but at the same time, we have to build it up. So right now it's at 0. And this first project will, represent our first income from the program, like I said, but we'll continue to work with the other projects as well and provide an update as we have it. But we just wanted you to know about this one and understand that projects will be coming down the pipeline over the next few months.
Damon, one question. So in the packet today, like the project you're talking about, there's nothing specific that I see. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just, I guess, commenting to make sure I'm not missing anything.
No, we're still receiving information from the developer.
Okay.
It's kind of coming in piece by piece right now. But we did get a big download of information from them yesterday. So the staff is going to start underwriting the project on their end. We do a cost benefit analysis. So Byron and his team provide a cost benefit analysis. Bianca and her team do sort of a first pass and last pass before the committee is able to provide any sign off on it. So those two things need to happen before we even ask you for an approval. So we're jumping the gun a little bit, but we're doing it intentionally again, because this developer asked us to try to help them meet the deadline that they have in August.
And the reason I asked that question was from a process standpoint, what's presented to the committee may be more than, for instance, that's been submitted to the board. I'm just wondering if there's like an idea as far as pro forma, like a packet, I mean, because obviously you don't want to drown the board members with too much information in the entire file.
Sure, we actually discussed this at the programs committee, and council made a recommendation that I believe the committee members accepted or were attracted to, where we'll provide an executive summary. Staff will provide an executive summary for each project, and it will have all the details in a condensed form so that you can look at these projects, because at some point it's going to be more than one that we have to look at.
That's what worried me.
And you'll have access to all of the market reports and studies that have to be done. And to use council's word, voluminous, I think she used, is the word she used to describe the amount of documents that we'll have to collect in order to underwrite a deal. So we're going to work on a shortened version for the board, even for the programs committee, so that you can discuss the high points and understand what the key risks are for the board in approving these deals.
And one more question, it's probably discussed at the committee level. Is there anything that we would have to be cautious about from a confidentiality standpoint, as far as enhanced protections? I mean, I'm not sure what's submitted in the entire packet, and then of that, what might be shared with board members where we'd have to be more cautious than normal with regard to, preserving its confidentiality, whatever that might be. And it may be a question for Jade.
And I can cover that, Wade. We always inform the developers ahead of time that, FANO is a public agency. We're subjected to public records requests. And so anything and everything a developer submits to us becomes a matter of public record, and it could be, requested via a public records request. So, I mean, beyond that, of course, we would not want to publish, financial information and those types of things, on our website or anything like that. But if someone requested, information via public records request, of course, we would carefully review it, the public records request, determine whether there are any exceptions, and then, of course, redact any sensitive information that might be contained in those documents.
Fair enough. Just again, thinking through the process.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I'm so happy that y'all are starting over in the east with that particular property.
Yeah, I think actually, Mr. Thomas, we have a few projects that are in eastern New Orleans. So
Yeah, that one in particular, I believe, has been beat up for a while.
Yes, it has been.
And it's right across from the library. So that's a great place to start.
Yes, sir. And I also think, to your point, it's a good model for the community because they can see it. But this particular project will have a number of the resilience features that we've been promoting. So the city has stormwater management requirements, but there are also energy efficiencies that the developer has planned for the building. So, in addition to it being a good project for the area, I think it also represents what we want to see from projects. It may not be the full scope of resilience that we'd ultimately like to see all of our buildings have in New Orleans, but it is definitely a step in the proper direction and a project that represents what we want to invest in, based on our updated mission statement.
I'm excited to see because everything around it is being repurposed and rebuilt from Joe Brown to that library. So it'll definitely help out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I agree. It's just awesome. I'm so happy that we have some projects that we are starting to take part in. And so I'm sure it's more to come, and just excited and looking forward to it. So thanks again. You all, I see Mr. Smith is back on the line.
I ain't never get off the line.
Well, not off the line, but are you still driving? Or is that just a crazy picture?
Nope, I was sitting in my office.
Oh, okay.
Looks like your screen might be frozen.
It does. I thought it was live at first, and I'm like, is it just a picture?
I was about ready to call 911.
Here y'all go.
Oh my gosh. All right, Mr. Smith, you take it from here.
Wade is right. I did text him that he looked dead.
Y'all are funny.
It looks like he hung up, Giselle. He's probably gonna call back in.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Couldn't take the pressure. All right. I think we're on to our finance committee. Finance and investment report. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Finance and
right.
investment committee.
Yep. So I'll cover provide a market update, and then take us through the financial status report as of April. So in terms of the overall market commentary, there's still a lot of uncertainty in the local and overall economy and market. There's been, as you well know, a kind of a spring back in terms of cases in COVID. There's been unemployment variables, unemployment benefits that could possibly expire in July. There's talk about trying to extend it, but it looks like they may expire. There's state and municipalities trying to open back up, some re-implementing restrictions. And then we have the national unrest and protests, which are all just a few of many elements impacting the market behavior and uncertainty. So on a local standpoint, there's some local data that's showing that the unemployment in the greater New Orleans area, as of April, there was a loss of about 100,000 jobs there. The unemployment rate locally here reached 18.8%. That's higher than the national average of 13%. And it's up considerably from the prior year, which is at 3.5. So that kind of just shows the kind of impact locally that we have. The markets are tuned in to the Federal Reserve. They met last week and came out with their first kind of formal projection since December.
you know, in the wake of everything considering with COVID. And they provided a kind of a wide net of projections, which is no surprise. But they're saying we can see anything from a continued recession to one of the biggest booms since the 80s. And they're determined to keep the rates low for probably the next 2 years. So that just confirms the uncertainty in the market right now. In the muni market, there's some strong demand over the past couple of weeks. The muni versus treasury ratio that we tend to look at the relative value of munis versus treasuries have come down from kind of recent extreme highs and kind of a disconnection from the market. And that's driven by just demand right now. That ratio is kind of moving closer to a normalized range, but there's still indications that there's a relative value to treasuries. We also seeing some new bond issue volume in the muni space increase week over week. So as mentioned, the demand remains pretty strong. Mortgage rates remain historically low. They actually hit an all-time low last week. And so a lot of that is driven by just the Fed's commitment to maintaining their level of purchases in the MBS space. And not just maintaining a level based on emergency purposes, but saying that they're going to do whatever they can to keep the rates down and continue purchasing as much as they need. So to summarize, there's still a lot of uncertainty, but we're going to continue monitoring and working with our advisors and keeping our foot on the gas and doing what we need to do to get our programs and keep running and keep going. So any questions or comments on the market update? All right. So I'll move to the financial status report. You look at page one. Page one provides a comprehensive snapshot of our actual year-to-date versus budgeted year-to-date revenues and expenses. And as of April, our actual revenues came in at $48,000 to a budget of $69,000. Our actual revenue expenses were favorable to budget, coming in at $430,000 to a budget of $631,000. Jumping to page two, this kind of provides a look into the revenue components. And the downward variance that we have for the $21,000 is mainly driven by our multifamily revenue, in which Damon just mentioned we haven't had any revenue yet, but we should see that line revenue be generated in that line going forward as we continue to diligently launch our programs, especially the multifamily program. Page three provides a look at the year-to-date expense components, mainly all favorable, driven by salaries and benefits, which we have some open positions there, as well as our marketing and advertising line, which we haven't fully deployed. Our expenses, we're prudently doing that as we perform our logo or get ready for our logo change, as well as the program. So there's some favorability there. Moving on to page four, this provides just a summary of the Pathways Fund. You'll see year to date, the Pathway Fund has generated $1,000 in revenue, and on the expense side, $18,000. Page five provides a detail of the operating fund's revenue and expenses by month. So you can see a look back there. Overall total expenses and revenues are fairly in line with averages. Page six shows our year-over-year balance sheet comparison for the operating fund, and the composition remains fairly stable given our minimal activity. And then finally, page seven shows our cash balances at the end of April. And in terms of the allocations and compositions, it's been fairly stable over the past couple of months. As of April, it's 11.4. The prior month, we're at 11.5. But our cash position remains fairly stable. So that concludes my summary of the financial status report. Any questions, comments there? All right, well, thank you.
Steve?
Yeah.
Steve,
Actually,
you have
I don't
the
have the agenda. Hmm?
number?
Who is it? Next up is, we move on. I guess it would be Damon's report now.
Programs. Programs committee.
Yeah.
Oh, programs. Okay. Programs committee report.
Yeah. Good afternoon, board members. So we'll move on to the May 2020 programs report. Start off with single family, our own New Orleans remortgage program, kind of outline program release, things that are kind of left on, that are kind of pending for the release of the program. We've kind of set a tentative date for July 2020 to kind of release this program. Overall, one main hurdle we've kind of encountered is Energy New Orleans. They're going to be working with us as one of our main vendors doing the assessments at the homes of the potential home buyers. They've kind of mentioned that the report and the requirements of the report per HUD that's needed to kind of get the loan closed out, or get the loan even funded. That report currently doesn't have those requirements. So we're working with them to kind of make those modifications to the report. We had a meeting with them on last week. They've kind of agreed to, make those modifications. Right now, they're working on just getting their teams back together. Once everyone's kind of back together, they ask for 2 weeks to kind of, get us that updated report and updated information back. Once that's done, we can kind of move forward. We're finalizing everything else and get ready for the release of the Green Mortgage Program. Moving on to pathways to home ownership, really no activity with pathways, kind of same information, just carrying over from last month. Those same 7 properties still remaining. Pathways really hasn't been the focus. We really try to focus on single family and multifamily. Pathways, however, we will move forward within the fourth quarter to release this housing innovation program. That's mainly going to consist of the 6 properties that we still held in inventory. Once that's released, we'll kind of move forward with that. But the focus has kind of been single family and multifamily. That's kind of been our area. As you can see, the 6620 Dorchester, that listing expired. We're going to relist that property and hopefully get that sold in the upcoming months. Moving on to the community support fund. So I'll provide you all with a quick update. We've kind of highlighted the application pipeline. This application pipeline currently says applications requested. So these are people who have actually contacted us and have requested that we send them an application. They're interested in the program. We've had 314 of those requests. Out of those 314, we have 83 that have not even activated their applications. Activated their accounts to complete their applications, and we have 79 completed applications. So as you can see, those are some big gaps from the number requested. So right now, in programs committee, we kind of discussed, why is that? And I think it's just technology. This system is fully online. It's an online portal. Everything's done electronically. And I think our people just don't have the technology in place to kind of get this done and get it moving. So we're working with them, to kind of move this along as well. Some of the comments, we really expected this program to maybe last 3 to 4 weeks. As you can see, it's kind of dragging along, and it's kind of intervening with other programs that we need to get released. So, I kind of mentioned to committee, we're going to do some additional marketing. Damon mentioned they have a PSA that's going to be coming out surrounding the program. Hopefully that'll gain some additional attention to this, and we can kind of get this money out and get this moving. Moving on to multifamily, as you know, we got that ordinance passed by the council on last month. We're still working to get that CEA passed. We're going to revise the pilot policy. The pilot policy, we're going to revise that to add in some additional financing language to kind of match in the application. Also, making those final touches on the developer financing application. As it relates to the software selection, we've made a software selection with HDS, Housing Development Software Company. So right now we'll move forward with, contacting them and move forward to next steps as it relates to contracting and implementation. And moving on in the pack, you have your loan production data report. This kind of highlights the lender summary, tells you origination, loans we've originated, amount, dollar amount, broken out by zip code, also council district, kind of highlights the loan type, the credit score, FICO score, interest rate. So this is a real good report. Following that, you have your Fano developer pipeline. So this is our main pipeline that we've kind of been looking at on a monthly basis. But what we've kind of done, and we're going to get more creative, at the last page, we've done a pipeline where we've kind of broken out projects that have actually been reviewed by underwriting committees. So these projects on the last page have actually submitted pre-applications to the underwriting committee. We've actually held, an interview with them, interviewed them, and moving them forward, with the actual application. So, we'll kind of keep that breakout separate from the main pipeline, just so you can get a hint of what's coming down your way. And that concludes programs committee report. Any questions on that? Anything? Okay, I'm done, Chair.
Chair Smith, I have a comment to add.
Okay.
So thank you, Bianca, for the report. I just want to mention to the board, if you look at the developer pipeline that Bianca just mentioned, that pipeline has a dollar amount tied to it, and that's simply the total value of all of the projects that are seeking pilots from us. And that's important. It's a good way for you to just think about it as board members whenever we present this pipeline to you. Our value to the project is being able to give the developer a discount on taxes that will incent them to build affordable housing units. And as a result, we take the property off the tax rolls, but then we're responsible for managing that property once it's off the tax rolls, and that means we charge a fee. So our fees are based on the total value of the project. And so I just thought it was important to communicate that to you, because when you look at, you're typically looking at mortgages or a multifamily project, and we're the owner of the bonds. And our income from those bonds is the difference between the rate we charge the borrower and the rate we have to pay to our bondholders. Well, for this pilot program, it's different. We were empowered by the city to manage this portfolio of real estate, which we have the responsibility to grow. And as we grow that portfolio, our revenues will grow, and we'll be able to redirect or reinvest those revenues into more programs. So, just wanted to point that out to the board as a way of thinking about these pilots as we present this pipeline to you, is looking at the total value of the projects we're trying to underwrite, and understanding that we're going to earn a percentage point or some percentage points on the value of that property. And that's how we get compensated for managing the program. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Damon. That was helpful.
You're welcome.
Is that it for the programs committee report?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do we have next? Is that you now, Damon?
Yes, to the executive committee report, executive management report. You have in your onboard systems, you have the action plan update. And I'll just talk about a few items within that action plan update. Number one, as you know, the CEA, we received approval from City Council last week. So we just have to round up signatures at this point. But as we just talked about, our first approval, we're hoping to come in August. So by August, we'll have all of our documents signed and everything in place. But that was a big milestone for us. So now we're able to move forward with our programming. We're in the process of launching multiple programs at once. In July, we begin to announce our developer or multifamily program to the community in July, along with the green mortgage program that Bianca talked about. But before those program announcements come out, we're going to announce our rebranding. So we're going to put out some information about our new logo, our new direction, our new mission, and begin to get the community behind us with our new image. So that will be the first thing to happen for us marketing wise, and then we'll roll into announcing the program. So simultaneously, we'll be trying to approve projects, but a big part of our effort is going to be educating the community and getting awareness out about these programs. In terms of fundraising, we are actively working with the Environmental Impact Bond Group or Working Group. We have multiple financial advisors, of course, working on this process for us. And we don't have any substantial update at the moment, but I think it's important for you to know that we are getting more and more answers on how we ought to utilize all of these new financial tools at our disposal, including environmental impact bonds, CRA investment from community banks, dollars from philanthropic organizations or foundations. So there are a combination of sources that we're looking at right now that are non-traditional to us as a housing finance agency. But the way that the world is shaping up and the markets are evolving is going to be to our advantage. So just reporting back to the board that I know, a few years ago, you approved us. You gave us the ability to start formulating some sort of fundraising that would help us capitalize this new model, this new direction. And that's very unique because governmental agencies are typically financing on a project by project basis. But we need capitalization in order to deliver our mission, and we're partly private. So that's a big reason driving it. So if we want to be competitive, we need public, private, philanthropic capital to come together in order to help us do that. So the environmental impact bond process is teaching us more than just the environmental impact bonds. But the plan is for us to have a firm direction in place, and we'll have a plan to enter the market toward the end of this year. And the ability for us to offer pilots is a game changer for us as it relates to fundraising. So, now we have a free and clear revenue stream in order to use to raise more money from banks or specialty investors, or to rededicate towards other types of projects. So we've already started engaging the rating agencies in this process as well, and we are moving closer. So as we get more material information our way, we'll let you know. But I do think the landscape is shaping up for us to be able to raise the kind of money we need in order to make the impact that we want. And so the last thing I'll mention is, when I first started with finance 4 years ago, and by the way, it's been 4 years this month. And in that first 4-year period, we've been talking about, developing that strategy, coming up with the new business model. And we've had a series of short-term plans, 3 and 5 year plans, strategic plans up to this point. But now that the world has gone through such a significant shift, staff thought it was time for us to re-communicate a longer-term vision to the community. We've adopted a new mission statement. We've updated our branding. We're rolling out programs. The environmental impact that we're trying to make, the categories are growing with COVID. So we're just going into a fundamentally different world. So we're going to begin a more long-term visioning or planning process that will involve some community stakeholders. The staff will participate in it. And of course, we'll come back to the board with results and feedback, or get your feedback as we roll into our October planning meeting, as we do every year. So we're going to stay on track with what we've been doing over the last few years as it relates to making these types of decisions during our October retreat. So by the October retreat, we'll have more information for you about the community's feedback, staff's feedback, other stakeholders that we work with to deliver these programs. And that will give us the foundation in order to set a clear vision to the community starting in 2021. So otherwise, the focus is on programs, technology, growing the staff as necessary as we launch these new programs, but also getting the capital we need in order to accomplish those goals. So that's it for me, Chair Smith, unless any of the members have questions.
There being no questions, we can move on. Is that the end? Is that it?
Yes, sir. That's
What's
the
the next
last
item?
on the agenda.
All right. That being said, having no questions, no comments, we can, somebody can motion for adjournment of the meeting. Anyone?
So made.
Second.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks so much.
Y'all take care.
Bye.